Good evening and welcome to tonight's episode of On the Mark with Mark Hamade, presented by Salina Tech on 95.5 The Rock, the show dedicated to your success in business, industry, and your everyday lives. I am Morgan Lillick, your host, joined as always by Mark Hamade, the COO from PKM Steel right here in Salina. Mark, how is the night treating you?
Excellent. How about you?
It's going really well. I'm really looking forward to our discussion tonight because this is more getting into my wheelhouse here. Tonight's topic, we are talking about advertising and marketing and what they mean to your business's success. So let's jump right in here head first, Mark. First off, how would you describe advertising and how would you describe marketing?
Okay.
What's the difference?
That's a good question. Well, creative without strategy to me is called art. Creative with strategy is called advertising. As far as marketing, I would say it's making the product or whatever you are selling look pretty, appetizing, that you just want to buy it regardless of the cost, and when you're opening it or touching it, you want to save every piece of it. I would say kind of like a magnet. It gravitates to you.
When you're discussing the difference between advertising and marketing, where do you really draw the line?
Well, when you're advertising, you're putting it out there in that median, and marketing could be in different areas to different people, to different genres. So it's a little bit different, but they really go hand in hand.
Absolutely. They do go hand in hand. And in my mind, marketing is your game plan. Advertising is your implementation of the plan. That's how I feel when I'm working on our advertising side with Rockingham Radio. I am implementing the game plan that businesses have in place for their success. Now, when is the right time to advertise?
You know, to me, it's always if you're advertising correctly, right? If you have the right market plan and the right genre, then you do it. I think, for example, you look at the car business. They use the gimmick with this guy called Eddie or Johnny or whatever, and it's like come in on Sunday and you get 1,000 off and so forth. And they've been doing it for years. And they do it every single time. And every single time, they get a bunch of people that come in.
And I'll echo those sentiments. I've found that most of the people that have success advertise, at least on the radio side, are the ones that do it with consistency. When you put your name out there briefly and then you pull it back away, people are busy. They're out there, they're working hard, they're playing hard, and they have short-term memories. If you don't stay in the forefront of their mind, you're losing market share to your competition.
And every choice you make has an end result. Lack of direction, not lack of time, is the problem. So it's having the correct direction with marketing. And then when you have the correct direction, then you're able to put it out on print, on online, on radio, and see what it is. But if you don't have that right plan, whatever you do is going to fail.
Yep, you got to be ready to rock right from the get-go. That is why you've got to have a great marketing plan going into your advertising. We will get into that here momentarily. But Mark, I want to ask you first, what are some common misconceptions about advertising that you've faced and come across throughout your career that some of the people, maybe people that you've worked underneath, maybe companies that you've worked for, just what are some of the things that you've noticed that you thought, you know what, these people don't have the right idea?
Well, there's 5 obstacles to me. No need, no money, no hurry, no desire, no trust, right, to me? So those are all obstacles. And really, once again, it comes back to the plan. And all of those obstacles can be overcome. Great example. You look at Nike, the swoosh. It's really nothing. It really is nothing. But it symbolizes Nike. That's what Jordan made. But by itself, it's not. The Apple logo, it's an apple, for God's sake, right? It's really nothing. So having that art design, you also have to have the creativity and like it, just like Polo or Armani or Cartier. Some of these symbols are really not that cool if you take them away from what the plan is. But once you put the thought of what it really is, then it becomes, wow, I gotta have that.
That's the signature of a great advertising campaign, is getting that urgency, that sense that you need something when in reality you don't have to have it. You want it.
People don't buy for logical reasons. They buy on emotion, for emotional reasons. This is why we always upgrade our iPhone from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, because it's an emotional thing that you've got to have it.
Yep, I mean the iPhone 4. It's a great tool, but people want the bigger, people want the better, people want the new. There's a reason that you want these things, folks, and that reason is advertising. You've slowly but surely been conditioned to believe that you need these things, and advertising is crucial for any business that needs to take advantage. It needs to gain more market share. If you're a business out there and you want to raise profits, and that pretty much includes just about everybody listening in, advertising is the right way to begin that process. But like I said, Mark, before you can do that, you got to start with a marketing plan. And tell us a little bit about what you feel a good marketing plan entails.
Well, I like to go backwards. What's the end result? Why am I doing this? And once I know why am I doing this, how do you know what ingredients do you want for a pizza if you don't know you want to eat a pizza, right?
Right.
So you got to know what you want to eat, and then you can go get the ingredients. And I think that's the important thing. What are you trying to do? And then once you know that, then you backpedal and put a plan for that. You have to know your end result, or else you're going to have a failure in your marketing plan. And then when you advertise, you're going to advertise for the wrong people or the wrong area or the wrong district. Because I truly believe this, and people will argue with me on this, that if you have the right marketing plan, it doesn't matter where the heck you advertise, you'll sell it. I put McDonald's as a great example. You don't go into McDonald's and say, oh, I'm going to go mark on the one on 9th Street because the one on 9th Street has that great manager or that great cashier. No, you love McDonald's. You're going to go there. So you get somebody from McDonald's that says, hey, I sold 1 million burgers, or I sold this. They didn't sell it. It's the brand. It's already been built, and it's there. And this is where you see the CEO of JCPenney failing now with his marketing plan, because he thought what he did at Apple could work at JCPenney. Well, what he failed to see is how well Apple's brand was built, and that Genius Bar that he created, while it was great, Apple, had us all in love with it, that no matter what they do, you gravitate to it. And that's where I feel, it'll be interesting to see if he lasts.
Mark, I got one final question regarding the marketing plan here for you. What are the steps that business owners and managers that are listening out there should take to determine how to build a marketing plan that best works for them? You made a great point there just a moment ago about how what works great for Apple isn't necessarily going to work well for JCPenney. How do business owners and managers determine what will work best for them?
Well, first they have to understand their own business. And sometimes they don't.
It's true.
Once if they understand their own business, they need to find somebody who's passionate, who's a visionary, if they're not, and who's into marketing, and get that person to truly understand their business. And then put what I would say like a timeline for them and walk them through a plan. Sales and marketing go hand in hand. So you need somebody who's savvy in sales, somebody who understands the product or the service, and understand people's pulses and how people buy and so forth, to be able to put that. And it usually takes more than one head. It takes a few people sometimes to do that. But you really need somebody outside the box and passionate.
If you can afford a marketing team, by all means, you need to consult with one. If you can't, try to find somebody within your organization that does have that savvy business sense, that has the ability to think about things outside of the box, the ability to market your product in a new way that has never been done before. If you can do that, you're going to stay one step ahead of your competition each and every time. So many people, so many businesses out there have a real hard time of breaking the mold, doing something new, something a little bit more fearless, because it hasn't been tested before. If you're that guy, if you're that girl, you've got a great chance at success. Test the waters and push the line.
Absolutely. And I'll just simply add, it's an emotional buy. So once again, you can make 70% profit, you can make 80%, you can make 40%. It is how good your marketing plan is. You have 5 seconds to get that person to look at it and say, wow, I want this, I need this, whether they need it or not. It's the same thing as when people like a gray suit. Sometimes I bet you they go buy the same gray suit again and again. Why? Because it draws them. So if you have the right plan, you will be able to sell. It's very critical. But one thing people mistake, especially business owners, they think because they love it, everybody else loves it. And I always say, absolutely not. That's why purple cars and fuchsia cars sell. Don't assume just because you have good taste, everybody else has good taste, or just because you have bad taste, everybody else has bad taste.
Taste is personal. Everybody's got their own mark. That is an excellent point, and I think that's a great way to wrap this segment. Let's go ahead and kick it over to a commercial break. When we come back, we'll have Darren Irwin on. Darren is my boss. Yeah, that's right. The GM of Rockingham Radio, Salina, Great Bend, and Hayes, is in to talk a little bit more about marketing and advertising when we return to On the Mark with Mark Hamade, presented by Salina Tech on 95.5 The Rock. Welcome back to On the Mark with Mark Hamade, presented by Salina Tech, right here on 95.5 The Rock. Our program brought to you in part by Hassman Termite and Pest Control, providing 50 years of quality service from the Hassman family. By the Reardon Clinic, experts in nutritional medicine, finding answers and not covering up symptoms. Learn more at reardonclinic.org. And by Salina Iron and Metal, serving you from the same location for more than 100 years. Well, tonight's guest of the program has 23 years of experience in sales and marketing. He had spent the past 7 years with Cox Communications here around the Salina area. He's worked for Eagle Radio, Cable TV, Cumulus Radio, and Morris Communications. It's Darren Irwin, Darren the GM of Rockingham Radio, Salina, Hayes, and Great Bend, a native to the Hayes area. Darren, welcome to the program. We're happy to have you.
Glad to be here.
This should be a fun discussion tonight, talking advertising and marketing with somebody that has plenty of experience. So, Mark, at this point, I am going to turn it over to you. I know you have some great questions lined up for Darren, and I'm looking forward to listening to the discussion tonight.
Thank you, Morgan. So I'll start out with Darren. Since our topic is advertising and marketing, let's just start with advertising. What is advertising to you?
Advertising's the message that you want to get out to the customers to draw them into your business.
Can you tell the listeners the different forms of advertising, such as advertising agency and online agency, and the difference between each?
Yeah, well, let's start with the different forms of advertising. Of course, you got radio, television, you got billboards, you got print, and in today's world, it's social media, which is Facebook, email, websites. It's a whole new world out there with how we have to try to get to our customers. And then you ask about the advertising agency. An advertising agency is simply an agency or a group of people that are willing to help you with your marketing out there. You usually will end up paying them to do the service, but they can be very helpful with the market research. They'll put your marketing plan together for you. The downside of an agency once in a while is cost.
Advertising to me is the heartbeat of an organization, and some amazing companies cease to exist due to that. How can the listeners decide between different advertising, and how can they know what works and doesn't?
Well, as far as advertising and working, the business will see the end results at the bank, basically, and how their profits at the end of the year. Mm-hmm. That's successful to see if your advertising and your marketing is working for you. And same as if it doesn't, at the end of the year, they're going to say, how are we keeping these doors open? What are we doing wrong? What can we do to turn things around? It's in the profit and loss for a business.
I totally agree, and that's very important. And sometimes people don't track their advertising and marketing, and you need to track it.
Oh, it's vital. It's how you keep your pulse on it to find out what you got to do to change, to increase it or decrease it a little bit too.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now let's visit with our second topic, because they're married together, and that is marketing. What is marketing to you?
Marketing is the actions you take with the advertising to gain market share.
Now, how does marketing help a company grow, or how does it hurt a company?
Well, and of course, with marketing, growth equals more customers, which equals more growth. And done right, it will continue to grow and continue to be profitable. And the second part of that is, how does it hurt a company? Basically, negative campaigns, negative towards your company. That's where it's going to hurt it, because as good as it can be, negative advertising can have the same effect the other way.
Absolutely. And one marketing thing that I think people forget that it's marketing and advertising is having an event where you have a dinner and you show off your products and speakers and so forth. And sometimes you have something like that because you're a big company and you have the money, and you may bring, a musician or so forth, or maybe you bring a comedian, and let's say you bring a comedian who doesn't use PC language and maybe is a little bit foul, and you have some older ladies or whatever. That can be very, very negative to them. And so there you go. You spent several $100,000 to have this great event, and you just really upset people, and the impression is terrible because, some comedians or some jokesters or whatever offend people. And so you have to be very careful, because when you have these types of events, they're bringing their families, they're bringing sometimes their grandmother, wife, husband, kids. They might have to travel to this show, and so you have to be careful on who you put out there.
Well, I think it goes back to the old saying too, where you do something good and it doesn't get repeated as much. Do one negative thing and see how many times it gets told over and over.
Absolutely, and I will add also, the one thing I will always go back to Apple is making something look very pretty and very unique, and really that attracts people. And if you do that, the curiosity is there, and then you get their attention, and then hopefully the print and what you put in there has some meat to it. And if it does have some meat to it, you're there. But if you're doing a bogus sale or a bogus bonus or a bogus something, and you're doing it every week or whatever, people will get it, and then it's down the trash, and then you're wasting money. So you have to be genuine.
I agree. Totally agree. With marketing and advertising, they do go hand in hand. And people, I think a simple explanation, this is straight out of Webster, marketing is the total of activities involved in the transfer of goods from the producer or seller to the consumer or buyer, including advertising, shipping, storing, and selling. Right from Webster. And advertising, the act or practice of calling public attention to one's product, service, need, especially by paid announcements in newspapers, magazines, over radio, television, billboards, etc., to get more customers by advertising.
Absolutely. And I will add on, I believe in all and every form of advertising. Now, that doesn't mean I believe in doing it all in the same amount of money or spending the same amount, but I do believe it in all forms, for the simple fact that you have different people and different thoughts. As human beings, we gravitate to different things. So every form of advertising will gravitate to somebody. And so it's important to do all, but you have to be cautious in how much you do what with what. I mean, I had some people say to me, every time I woke up to the Steel Day commercial on TV because they kept their TV on. They're like, I didn't forget it. I had to come. Did we advertise too much? Absolutely not. That's what you want them to do. Some like the paper. A lot love the radio. So you have to do it all, but you cannot do the same amount with everything. You just won't be able to afford it. I don't care who you are.
No, media mix. The media mix is vital with all companies and businesses, and without it, you putting too many eggs in one basket sometimes. But a lot of that has to do with budget, your budget and what's allowed, and where by having a market plan that takes care of that.
And also, I would add the media person, whoever it is, you have to gravitate to that. There are certain people I haven't done anything with, because I didn't believe they understood what I wanted. If they don't understand you and they can't sell you on how they're going to do it, why are you going to spend with them? You're not going to. So that sale part is very, very critical. The media can be good, but if that person isn't going to convince you on why and the best way to do it and show the passion in it like you, more than likely you're not going to do it.
Exactly. They've got to see the vision that you have when you're working with them to get the job done for you.
And hopefully refine your vision.
Refine it. Come up with ways to make it better or put their experience into it.
Because they're going to be the expert. You should have that passion and that nice, what I would say, goulash, and they should be able to kind of hone it down so it's not so scattered.
True. And a lot of people ask, why does the Big M and McDonald's still advertise, or Coke or Pepsi? Do they have to? They already own everything. But and again, I'm going to go back to market share. It's all about market share with them. One of the stories I love to tell, and we'll just call them Company A and Company B. Company A decided that they, after years and years of spending, a new advertising guy came in and he cut their budget by 20%, and which only equaled maybe $12 million in their budget over a year. Well, Company B saw that happen, and they increased theirs by 20%. In that next year, the market share that Company B took from Company A was only 7%. But do you know what that 7% equaled in dollar amount? Over $100 million. 7%. So You ask, why do they keep marketing? Why do they keep advertising? They'll never lose market share again. I'll guarantee you Company A won't.
I've said it like this: becoming a COO, CEO, whether it's marketing, advertising, selling, whatever it is, it's hard climbing that mountain, but it's a lot quicker to be thrown off that mountain.
It's hard to stay up there.
Absolutely. You have to appreciate it, and you have to keep working at what got you up there and continue to innovate and change. And if you're not changing and doing different things, you're going backwards.
I agree.
Well, I got one quick question here for you, Darren, before we wrap the segment. And this is something that I run into on a somewhat regular basis, and I know pretty much every radio rep, TV rep, paper rep does. You go into a business, they would love to do something with you, but then you get that line, we just can't afford to advertise right now. Our margins are too slim. We're not making enough money. Darren, why is it so crucial to advertise when business isn't meeting expectations and those profit margins are slim?
Well, it's hard. A lot of business owners just, they look at it as an expense. And that's where the fault comes in. They can't look at advertising as expense. They have to look as an investment into their business. And once they see it as an investment, as a way to offset that expense that they have, then they become a true marketing partner with you, and they understand it's investment into their future.
Yes, that's money that is coming back into their company in the form of raised revenues from the additional exposure. Darren, thanks for joining us here on the program this evening. You want to stick around for our social media mailbox question?
Oh, sure.
All right. We've got it coming your way, folks, when On the Mark, presented by Salina Tech, returns right after this on 95.5 The Rock. Welcome back to On the Mark, presented by Salina Tech on Salina's True Rock Station 95.5 The Rock. Our show brought to you in part by Speedy Cash. Need cash fast? Visit your Salina Speedy Cash at Crawford and Broadway today. By PKM Steel, quality, passionate employees building tomorrow today. And by Salina Downtown Inc. Discover Salina's historic downtown online at salinadowntown.com. And now our social media mailbox question, presented by Salina Downtown, is brought to you tonight by Trish Mather. And Trish writes in, what's the best way to advertise a new business? Mark, I'll start with you. What are your thoughts on advertising in a new business and the best way to do it?
You have no greater leverage than the truth. And I would say it has to be very authentic. If you look at Oprah Winfrey, when she started and the growth she's done, it is all because she was simply authentic. So it's being authentic about what your business is and why people should buy it. And then you want to advertise it because you're new. You want to go through the chamber. You want to contact Rockingham. You want to contact, Salina Journal News. You want to do social media, Facebook, Twitter, family, friends, all of that. But if you're authentic, that's the first thing. Then the second thing is to make sure that the message can be seen and read and listened to in 5 seconds. We all have, ADD, so it's like you want it to be quick. And that is vital because as a small business, you're lacking money. You're lacking the punch behind you at that point. So you want people to see it and say, wow, if they don't get it, it's a problem. So what I always say is take your grandmother, take somebody who may not understand what you're doing and pitch it to them. If they understand it, boom, it's a done deal. If they don't, you better go back to the drawing board.
Darren, what are your thoughts for Trish on the best way to advertise a new business?
Well, Mark said most of it, passion. First of all, you got to come across with passion in whatever spot you're doing a commercial. I always encourage a new business, if they have somebody that's associated with the business, to have them do the commercial. To me, it always shows that they care about what they're doing and how they're coming across, and they care about their business. So I've always encouraged that, if they can do it and are able to do it, do it. The second thing is, the key to learning is repetition. You want to get that message out there over and over and over. It's just like when we learned our ABCs. We said it over and over and over, and that's the key to learning.
And I'll add one final point to that discussion. What's most important, in my opinion, for a new business is what sets you apart from your competition. What do you bring to the table that people that are in similar business models haven't brought to the table before? Whatever that is, feature it. Let people know whether you use radio, TV, print, whatever you do to advertise your business, you've got to let people know what sets you apart from your competitors.
And remember, why did you start your business? You started it because probably you complained about something, or you saw saw a problem or something like that. Or somebody else is doing that business and there's complaints. Take those complaints and make sure your business doesn't have it, and your business will grow and be number one. That's, again, how Apple got market share, how IBM. Most of the time, whatever you do, it has been done before in one form or another. It's making sure you're doing the best part of it. And that's what great business is about. If you go for the money, you'll never make money. If you do what you love, the money will come.
Well put there, Mark. Trish, we appreciate you writing in for On the Mark this evening. You have just scored $25 in Salina downtown dollars, good at any business in downtown Salina. We appreciate you writing in, Trish. Listeners, if you want to write in, we post a question for you every Friday on our Facebook pages. You can check that out at facebook.com/Salina Radio and at facebook.com/955 The Rock. Well, let's call it a night, guys. Darren, appreciate you coming in this evening. Thanks for spending time with us.
Thanks for having me.
For Mark Hamade, I'm Morgan Lilick saying so long. This has been On the Mark with Mark Hamade, presented by Salina Tech on 95.5 The Rock. Have a great evening.